It's time for Law in Our Life. That means that Hyunju is here in our studio. She is a local practicing lawyer here in Gwangju, and she's also a regular guest on our show. Hello, Hyunju.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Well, I'm all fine, and I understand that our story today, actually, this was a request from a listener.
Right.
So thanks, Sarah. She gave me a story that she wanted to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've I guess looked over some of the laws, and you can tell us a little bit about how to respond in a situation like this.
Yes.
All right. So why don't you tell us what we're going to talk about?
So today we're going to talk about Good Samaritan law.
The Good Samaritan.
Yes. You might have heard about Good Samaritan in the Bible.
Yeah.
He encountered a victim who was attacked by the robber and took care of him.
Right. After everybody else kept walking by.
Right.
The Good Samaritan. A key point of the story is that at the time, people didn't like Samaritans. Right?
Yeah,
they had a bad reputation.
Yes.
But the Samaritan was the person who helped this person who had been robbed and beaten. Took care of them, right? So how do we get the Good Samaritan from that?
Yep. So after the story, we call people who assist others in danger as Good Samaritan.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is whether it's mandatory to help one in danger if you find one, or what are the responsibilities for the rescuers.
All right. Now, what precipitated us talking about this? Something happened here in Korea, right?
Yes. Recently, there was a news that a Korean husband has beaten up a Russian wife at the restaurant after he found her with another man in Busan.
Right. And I found her with another man at the restaurant.
Yes.
To be clear.
Yes.
Okay.
It was reported that the husband attacked her as soon as he found her, and she was rushed to the hospital after severe injuries.
Right. And there's a horrific video of her attack that was circulating. And, it looked very serious. And the kind of shocking part is that, there wasn't a strong effort to stop this from going on.
Yeah.
I guess a few people made sort of an effort, but this was happening, in broad daylight at lunchtime.
Yeah.
In a crowded restaurant. And so this raised some questions for us, right?
Yeah, there might have been some bystanders and what their responsibilities would be.
And so that's what we want to know.
Yeah. So one thing is that the bystanders are not usually liable for the injuries, even though they do not rescue the victim, as they do not bear any duty to rescue somebody.
Okay.
Also in the U.S., not everyone is responsible to prevent the torts of others.
What does tort mean?
Torts means illegal activities, like beating up somebody.
All right.
Or
so if somebody's robbing somebody, I don't need to stop them.
No.
Okay.
Only when they have special relationship with the victim, then they have responsibilities to prevent those kind of torts activities.
Like if I'm a teacher and a student under my care, has something happened.
Yeah, because you have already built the special relationship as teacher and students.
Yeah.
But if you are just a stranger to them, then you bear real no responsibility because there is no special relationship between you and the victim.
All right. So why is that we don't say that people have to get involved?
The basic rationale is that we do not want to make every bystander to be held liable.
I see. All right.
Yeah, because not everybody can help somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, and also we cannot make everybody liable for what they cannot do.
All right. So what about here in Korea?
So in Korea, we have Emergency Medical Service Act. So in the article 5.2, it stipulates that no person who provides an emergency patient in critical condition with any of the following emergency medical services or first aids shall be held civilly liable for the loss of property, nor be held criminally liable for any injury or damage caused by provision of such services, and shall be exempt from criminal liability for death unless there is any intentional or grossly negligent conduct.
Okay.
So it's quite long and complex.
Yeah.
So let's just make it simple.
Sure.
This provision is usually applicable to people who are not medically licensed, like laypersons.
Okay. So I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, and I'm not a paramedic.
Yep. Okay. But you want to help somebody in danger.
Okay.
In that case, if one does not breach his or her duty of care in offering first aid to the person whose life is in danger, and with intention or gross negligence, he's not liable for civil or criminal liabilities.
Okay. So if I see somebody get hit by a car
and you want to
and I
help
try
him,
and help them,
uh-huh.
if they try and sue me, which I've been told is not uncommon to happen, but I cannot be held liable.
You will not be held liable if you didn't intend to hurt him.
Sure.
And if there is no gross negligence in offering first aid.
Right.
Like if you're trying to offer dressing on the wounds, but you didn't, but you just used the dirty cloth on it, then it would be gross negligence.
Okay.
If there is clean cloth, but you just used the dirty cloth.
All right. So be careful.
Yeah. So
maybe I'd be worried about giving CPR.
Maybe
you can hurt somebody doing that. Though if you're giving someone CPR, it's probably because they're near death.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's in Canada I took a first aid course years ago, and I was told at that course that we were actually now required under the terms of that course to offer aid.
Because you learned it.
Yes.
Oh,
because we were now able to deliver first aid. We were now also required to give first aid.
Oh.
I didn't think much about it, but then about 2 weeks after I did the course, in about a week, I had to help 2 different people who were in car accidents.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty shocking.
Wow.
And both times, one there was paramedics there, and they were asking me to help. They were like, I said I'm a responder. I have first aid. They said, okay, you can help us do this.
Oh wow.
It was pretty intense, but here, there isn't that responsibility, right?
I'm not so sure about that.
Okay. Now, there's some sort of controversy about this, and I guess you have an example. Right?
Yes. So I forgot to mention one thing. For the result of the death, the criminal liability will be only reduced, but not lifted entirely.
Okay.
So, if the person dies, then it can be a serious issue for the rescuer as well.
All right.
So go back to the controversy. The controversy is that to be held not liable for the damage, the Good Samaritan should have no gross negligence.
Okay.
Also, for the result of death, the liability for such result is not exempt, but only the degree of liability is reduced.
Okay.
Also, as whether one was grossly negligent or not will be decided by the court.
Okay.
So the person with the good face will be held in a limbo for a long time until the case is decided.
All right. So if you're worried the person could die, then you have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Now you have an example of this, right?
Yes. Last year there was a case regarding the act of Good Samaritan. An elementary school teacher went to the Korean medicine clinic, Haniwon, and she was given an acupuncture treatment with the bee sting.
Yeah.
However, she had severe allergic reaction. The Korean medicine doctor tried to fix it, but he failed and asked a doctor in the same building to come and help the patient. So that family doctor came over and to inject anti-allergic medication and conducted CPR.
Okay.
However, it did not save the patient.
Oh dear.
And she died from anaphylactic shock.
Right.
The family of the deceased teacher filed a lawsuit against the Korean medicine doctor and the doctor who tried to save her.
Really?
Yeah. The family doctor. The family argued that the doctor could have saved her if he had been more prompt with his first aid.
Wow. What did the court say?
So later in the court, however, the neighbor doctor, the Samaritan, was found not liable for the death.
Well, I should hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty. That seems pretty crazy to me that the doctor who came over to try and help would be sued because you didn't help fast enough.
Yeah.
But
so
I guess this is an example where the court has to settle it out, right? All right. But this case with the man and the Russian woman, I mean, I want to know is, can I grab the guy who's kicking his wife on the ground.
Oh, in that case, it's more related to like not self-defense is to like defend myself,
Yeah.
but it's to.
Can I defend another person?
Yes, it's possible.
Okay, because I would, at home I've done some conflict de-escalation classes, and they make a big, it's not good to get between people that are fighting because you get hit by both people.
Right.
But if there's a difference between getting between and pulling someone off, and if someone's attacking someone who's prone, who's on the ground, they can't defend themselves. That's when people get killed.
Yeah.
And so, it was pretty clear that under our defense laws, you can stop someone who's attacking a prone person. But here, I would be worried, especially, much like the Samaritan, foreigners aren't always popular here. I don't want to be the foreigner who grabs the guy and stops him and then gets charged with assault.
But the thing is, it can be very tricky because there is a kind of like level of intervention that should be kept. Okay. So like if you try to grab him, but you grabbed him so hard, so he like hit on the ground on the back, and he says he had to go to the hospital.
Sure. All right.
If that kind of things happen, then it can be very tricky because he might argue that you could stop him by just grabbing his hand, but you pulled it so hard.
So it doesn't matter what he's doing to her. It matters what I do to him.
The force that you can exercise should be very limited just to stop him.
It can't be proportional.
No.
Okay, I understand. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming in today, Gwangju.
Thank you. You can find this segment in video and my YouTube channel. You can find me by searching Korean Law 101 on YouTube. Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure.